So we're here for another session of Triumphant Living magazine, and I just have the privilege of knowing so many people with such triumphant stories. And this is my sister. Some of you all know who know the family. This is my sister Michele,
Hello.
and her story is amazing. And just being able to share this time with her um, has just been life changing for her. Just to kind of give you some ideas, she's gone through so many different issues and situations and experiences. And I'm not going to tell her story. I'm just going to allow her to just tell it herself and tell us how she has now been living triumphantly through all of that and what it took to get her there. So the floor is yours.
It took a long time. It took 30 years for me to get to where I'm at right now.
Right.
Started off, as you know, foster care for 2 years. That's where it started off at. My mother was in school, got a job with transit. My father was a hustler, pimp, drug dealer. So I was in foster care for 2 years. That's where it all started. From foster care, it was my aunt's house. I lived with my aunt. Foster care at your house.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was my aunt, my great grandmother. I was here, I was there, because my mother was young. My mother had me when she got pregnant at 18, had me at 19. I got pregnant with my son at 18, had him at 19.
Wow.
My son had his daughter, the
At
baby
19.
mother was pregnant at 18 and had his daughter at 19.
Wow.
So I come from South Jamaica, Queens, but the southeast, Rochdale Village is southeast of
Right.
Jamaica.
137.
Yes, yes. And you know where I come from at a young age, when I was back with my mother in Rochdale, where I come from, we wasn't poor, but we was lower class. We was lower class. This is in the 80s. It was a big drug epidemic in the 80s.
Right.
So my mother didn't have a lot of money, and I wanted the nice things, and this is where it started off with the selling drugs. But let me go back. I first saw it from my father.
Right.
First saw it from my father. He was a hustler. He was a drug dealer, then a drug user, and then just a hustler. So I first saw it from him. And my mother told my father, if it's either you take the street life or you take me, and he chose to take the street life. So that's where I first saw it at. And you know, my mother didn't have much. She didn't have
Right.
much. She worked hard, worked for transit for 40 years. But she didn't have much. And where I grew up at, you had to sell drugs. At least that's what we thought.
That's what you thought, right?
Thought that you had to sell drugs
Had
if
to
you
hustle.
wanted it. In the 80s, and this was, the whole Rochdale was infested. Everybody sold drugs, and that's what I saw, and that's what I picked up, and that's how it all started.
Right.
My journey started.
How
like
old
that.
were you when you first started selling drugs?
14, 15 years old. 14, 15 years old.
Right.
And I wanted the nice clothes like everybody else. They wanted the nice clothes. I think all my friends were a lower middle class.
Mm-hmm.
All the parents struggled. And
Y'all wanted nice things, and the
Wanted
only way
nice
that you
things.
thought that you could get it was to sell drugs. How
Yeah.
old were you when you started using them?
I started smoking weed. I was 13, 14 years old. Started off with marijuana. Started off with weed. And then it progressed more and more and more. And I didn't want to listen to my mother. I was at my mother's house. I was at my aunt's house. I didn't want to listen. You know, so I left home at a very young age. I think I left home at 16, 17 years old. And I was out there in the streets. And I was out there. And the city started to change then. You know, It's different now, but the city Rochdale started to change.
Mm-hmm.
But at 16 or 17 years old, I left home.
Where did you go?
The first night that I left home, because I thought everybody hung out all night, and I didn't want to go upstairs, and I was just outside, and all my friends went home, and I didn't have anywhere to go, so I had to go back home. I had to go back home.
You was
I didn't have
leaving and you
anywhere to
came back.
go.
Huh?
Yeah, but when I left my mother's house, she said, if you don't want to listen, you got to go.
Right.
So I left, and friends took me in. I never was literally sleeping on the street.
Right.
But friends took me in, and I grew up with at the After Hour Club at 16 years old. After Hour Club didn't start till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And I was there. I was in an era with, if anybody ever saw Paid in Full, I was in an era with Richie Porter, Alpo, AZ.
Mm-hmm.
We all was in the club together. And it progressed from marijuana to coke inside of marijuana and sniffing coke and smoking coke cigarettes. Because I thought that was the thing to do.
Right.
Because everybody was doing it. I probably was the youngest one there.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was the thing to do. And it just took off from there. It took off from there. And it got bad. It got real bad. Before I left home, no, I was already gone. I was already going home. But after the After Hour Club, and I got pregnant, and I had my son, and I went back home, and that's just not what I wanted to do. I thought it was more
Right.
out there in the street. I thought that was a fun thing to do because I didn't know any better. My mother tried to teach me better, but when you're young, you're hard-headed. You don't want to listen. So I had to learn everything. I had
The
to
hard
go
way.
out there, yes,
Yeah.
and learn everything for myself. So after I had my son, I went to Richmond, Virginia. I left my son with my cousin, and I went to Richmond, Virginia. And that is the first jail that I ever went to. I was 19 years old, and I went to jail in Richmond, Virginia.
How long were you there?
Not long, a few months, 3, 4 months. But it should have been a bad experience for me. Because they say when you go to jail, either you're never going to come back or you're going to keep coming back.
Right.
You got some people that go to jail and they never come back. You never hear about them going back to jail. But it was that was the start for me. That was the start of jail for me. So I went down with intentions to sell drugs. And that's what I did when I got out of jail. I went to the projects, Jackson Ward, and I sold drugs. And then the drug use progressed. When I was in jail, everybody in Richmond, Virginia talked about an egg. That's heroin. That's what they talked about. They couldn't wait to get out to do an egg. And
Wow.
I came home and I wanted to try it. But I remember my father told me with heroin, either you're going to like it or you're going to hate it because it'll make you throw up and make you real sick. And I just happened to like it. And that was the start of it. That was, my son was born November 89. And in 90, I was in Virginia, and that was the start of heroin. And it was the worst thing. It was the worst thing that could ever happen to me. And that's a drug that if anybody ever try to give you some heroin, they not your friend.
Wow.
They not your friend. It's physical, it's mental, People that don't know about heroin, if you don't have heroin, you will get sick. You can smoke crack all day long, you won't get sick. But if you do not have heroin, you will get sick.
So once you start taking it,
you got to keep
you
on.
got to keep taking it.
If it's 3 days, you sniff 1 day, sniff 2 days. After the third day, you're addicted.
Wow.
Yeah, after the third day, you're addicted, and you need it. So this started in 1990, and it didn't end until 9/11/2016.
Wow. 2016.
From 1990 to 9/11/2016. That's where, it just went bad. It didn't get any better. It just went bad. And I grew up in Rochdale with some of the some of the biggest names. Some of the biggest names. I sold drugs with Boo Boo. That's what I call him.
And that's where we're gonna leave
That's
him.
what we gonna do.
Yeah,
We're gonna leave Boo Boo right there.
yeah. But back to Virginia, and I stayed there a couple of years, and
I remember.
it was sniffing heroin. It was weed and crack.
Once you got out of jail, I couldn't understand why you stayed there, and I see now it was the drugs that was there.
It was the drugs and it was the lifestyle. I thought that was fun, something to do. I was 19. I thought it was fun and something to do, but it really wasn't. It just was the start of.
It was the beginning of everything.
Yeah, it was the beginning of everything. And how did I get back? What happened was after I had my son, and I stayed there a couple of years. I moved around. I was in Pittsburgh. I started transporting drugs. I look at it now like I would never do that.
Right.
I would never do that. I used to get on a plane with keys of, excuse me, I used to get on a plane with keys of cocaine, just every other day, every other week. And
On the plane?
On the plane. One here and one here. On the plane. That was $1,000 each trip. $1,000 for the front and $1,000 for the back. Something that I would never do now.
Right.
Nobody could ever get me to do anything like that. But I did that for a while. I lived in Pittsburgh for a while. I used to just travel around selling drugs, whatever they needed me to do. I did a lot. I didn't, thank God, I never had to prostitute, but I did a lot. I did a lot. I've been many places.
How many times did you go to jail?
I can't even count. The longest I did at one time was 8 months at one time, but I did that twice in 30 days and 6 months, and it was just a waste of time. It was just a waste of time. It was a waste of time, and I let my mother down. I let my family down. But you got to look at it like that was what was going on where I came from. That was what was going on where I came from. When I went outside, that was there. That was there, and I'm talking 30 years. I was on drugs for 30 years, from marijuana to coke and marijuana, to crack and marijuana, to heroin, to smoking crack, just like the average crackhead.
Right.
I just didn't. I just knew how to hustle.
Right.
I just knew how to hustle, so I stayed above water. But my journey was a long journey. I've been through a lot, and from 1989. From 1989 to 9/11, 2016. 9/11, 2016. I've lived in plenty states. I've lived in plenty houses. I've been places that I didn't have to be. Places that I didn't have to be. I remember I spent the night. I didn't have anywhere to go. When I say I didn't have anywhere to go, because I didn't want to go where somebody could tell me what to do,
Right.
and I had to listen to somebody.
We know that.
Yeah. So it's not ever that I didn't have anywhere to go. It's just that I wanted to do my own thing.
Right.
But I can remember being in the Bronx. I just came home from jail, and this guy, GB, he's an old timer, and I slept with him. He had a room, and in the ceiling, you could just hear the rats running all over the ceiling and in the walls and stuff. And that's where I wanted to be, because I didn't have to be there. But that's where I wanted to be. And, I came back to New York. And stopped selling. No, I stopped selling drugs. Like that wasn't my main hustle. I began to become a booster. That's when you steal.
Okay.
I became a booster. It was anything, you know, because the heroin it wake you up in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
It wake you up in the morning. They say it's the monkey on your back, and it really is. It wakes you up in the morning. You got to get up. You
And do
got to
something
get it.
about it so you
Yes,
can get some more.
that's exactly what it is. So I turned to boosting. You know, stealing. We just
Mm-hmm.
call it boosting. You know, you take the shopping bag, you line it with aluminum foil, and anything that you get with alarm on it, the foil stops it from going off. I went to jail for that for a couple of times. I did a couple of bids for that. I did that for a few years. Now we talking uh 2000, no, yeah, around 99 2000. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
did that. I did that and did that and did that until that ran its course. Everything
Mm-hmm.
runs its course.
Right.
Everything
Right.
everything runs its course, and I did that. And then I went to jail in Westchester County. I went to jail in Westchester County, and I kept getting locked up in Westchester County because Westchester had the good stores. I kept getting locked up in Westchester County.
I don't mean to
Mm.
laugh, but
Yeah, they had the
the
good
they had the
stores.
good expensive stuff,
Yeah.
right?
So I kept getting locked up in Westchester County, and then it was this lady. Her name is Shelly. They said some girls was talking, and they said yeah, Shelly's gonna come in and she's gonna help us out, get us a place, and this, that, and the third. So I said, well, who is Shelly? And they said, you'll know her when she comes in because she's not a CO and she dressed really, really nice.
Mm.
So when she came in, I asked her, I said, well, what could you do for me? And she was telling me she could get me into the women's Y. And she said to me, she said, well, where's your family and where's your mother? And I said, no, I don't mess with my mother. And she said, what do you mean you don't? You know, I cursed. And she said, what do you mean? And she helped me. She did what she was said that she was going to do. When I got out of jail, she
Mm-hmm.
put me in the women's Y. And this was oh, long time ago, 16, 15. It was a long years,
Mm-hmm.
many years ago. But she also was a mentor to me.
Okay.
My mother met her on the phone. They never met in person. My mother met her on the phone, and my mother thanked her because she relocated me. I was in a drug program going in daytime. I was to go to the drug program in the daytime. Still sneaking, getting high, but my mother really appreciated her because she
Right.
relocated me, made sure I had a place to stay, and her and my mother was in communication with each other. And she did a lot for me. She didn't get me clean, but she had a lot to do with it.
She started the process.
Yeah,
She helped.
she had a lot to do with it. She had a lot to
Mm-hmm.
do with it. And moving forward to about uh I stopped 9/11/2016, and I spoke to her before then, a couple of months before then, and she said, I never wanted to let her down.
Mm-hmm.
I never wanted to let her down because she put so much work into
Right.
me, and I didn't want to disappoint her. So she said to me, talked to me in 20, couple of months before I got clean, and she said, "How you doing? And how long you clean?" I said, "Yeah, I'm clean." And she said, "Well, what's your clean date?" I didn't. I told her I didn't. I forgot. I didn't know. I forgot. Whatever. And she knew I was lying
Mm-hmm.
because you
You
don't
always
forget.
know. Mm-hmm.
You don't forget your clean date. My clean date is 9/11/2016. You don't forget your clean date. So after I had that conversation with her and I hung up the phone with her, I just felt bad. I
Mm-hmm.
just felt bad for lying to her. And I didn't have to lie to her because
Right.
all she would have said was, "Oh, I'll get you in the program." This lady has so much juice in the courts. You tell her when you go on to court if you're a client of hers. I forgot what the organization that she worked for, but if you was a client of hers and she went to court for you, not as your lawyer, but just
In proxy for you. Mm-hmm.
She had so much juice that the judge would let you go on her recommendation.
Mm.
They're gonna go to this program. They're gonna do this. They're gonna do that. She had so
They
much
trusted
juice and
her.
so much pull.
Yeah.
Yeah, she could take you to court, and the judge would let you go, put you in a program or whatever. So I didn't have to lie to her, but I just felt like I let her down because we've been through this process before with her putting me in a program and helping me out and stuff. And I thought about it, and I had to call her back. And I said, "Nah, Shelly, no, I'm not clean. I'm still using. I'm still getting high." And whatever it was that I needed to go to detox, to go to rehab, day treatment, because you can go to inpatient for long terms, which I've been there too. You can go to inpatient, you can go to 30-day, you can go to methadone clinic. They have so many resources for you, and she had connections with all of it. So I felt bad about that I lied to her, and that was the start of me getting myself together.
Okay.
You know, backtrack. I have been to uh, detox, rehab, methadone program, long term. None of those things work. I think they didn't work for me because I wasn't ready.
Right.
Nobody can make you be ready to stop
Exactly.
getting high.
And that's the difference.
Yeah, nobody can make you be ready. And I remember um, the OJ trial was going on then, and I was in
Oh boy.
Samaritan
Okay.
Village. And, we in a group, and a guy picks on me, and whatever the question was, why are you here? And this is really what I thought in my mind. I told him, I'm here to learn how to stop getting high so I could sell more drugs. Yeah, that's what I
Okay.
told him because I wasn't ready.
Right.
I wasn't ready. You can't, when you stop, you still can't indulge. At least I can't. I don't know what anybody else can. But, I can't. I did long-term treatment. I've been in long-term treatment 3 times, and I couldn't get it together. My mind wasn't there. I just couldn't get it together.
Mm-hmm.
But after I had that talk with Shelly, I told her I wanted to go to the methadone program, and the program that she was affiliated with didn't have any beds, didn't have any openings for methadone. Methadone, you go there and drink every day so you don't be sick when you're on
Okay.
heroin. That's what
Okay.
methadone is.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that she was affiliated with, they didn't have any openings, so I went to another one, and I didn't plan it. I didn't plan it. Every time I planned to stop getting high, like I'm gonna stop on this day, and every time I went to long term and stuff, it just didn't work out for me. And when I did stop getting high, I didn't plan it. It just
Mm-hmm.
happened. I
Mm-hmm.
did not plan it. I say, God, me and God, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't plan it like I've planned so many other times. Like I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
stop getting high on this day.
Right. Like I'm gonna stop smoking.
Yeah.
Everybody who smokes, I'm gonna stop smoking as soon as I
Yes.
finish this last pack. Mm-hmm.
And so I before I knew it, I was on the methadone program, and before I knew it, because I was smoking crack, sniffing dope, and everything. Then this was in 2016, and before I knew it, it just one day went by. Because I was going to methadone program, but I was still sniffing dope.
Mm-hmm.
Heroin is dope. I was still
Right.
sniffing dope every day.
Right.
The methadone program is just so I wouldn't get sick. That just
Uh-huh.
kept you from being sick. So I
While
was
you
still
detox. Mm-hmm.
still sniffing dope every day, and then before I knew it, it was one day no dope, no crack. It was a week, no dope, no crack. And then I looked up, and it was 2 weeks, and it was a month. And when I
Mm-hmm.
realized that I wasn't doing it anymore, I said, I can really do this.
Yeah.
I can really stop this.
Mm-hmm.
And it became, I wouldn't, it became, I was on a methadone program, had 5 months clean. And the biggest disappointment to me, death, the biggest thing was my son said to me that he couldn't reach my mother. My son said he couldn't reach my mother. She was sick, and long story short, she was in an apartment and she had passed away, and my son found her, and I got the phone call to come right away. So I knew when I got that phone call, I'm clean 5 months when I got the phone call. And I knew when I got the phone call, I was packing my stuff. I was living in Yonkers. I knew I wasn't going back there anymore. And I went home to my mother's house, and everybody was so worried about me. I got a little cousin. He was so worried about me, Bobby. He was so worried about me. And he just kept saying, crying to me, saying, please, please don't relapse. Please don't relapse, because you might not come back next time.
Right.
Please, please don't. And believe it or not, it wasn't even on my mind. I never even thought about my mother passed away. I'm going to go get high. I never even thought about it. What I thought about was, if I do that, I have nothing to look forward to, because my
Right.
goal always was to make her proud. And I didn't relapse. I didn't relapse, and that was I only had 5 months clean, and I didn't relapse. So we go to 5 months clean, and I celebrate my first year after 30 years of drugs. I started drugs, smoking marijuana, smoking weed when I was 14. I'm talking 30 years of drugs, and it was only by the grace of God that it just happened, you know. And once I realized that it happened, and I went back home, and I just knew I couldn't turn back, because if I turned back, I might not ever be
Ever
the
come
same,
back.
or ever
Right.
come back. And first anniversary, second anniversary, I'm on my third
Third year.
anniversary after getting high, using drugs for 30 years. I never had anything of my own, and now I have everything of my own. And it can be done.
Yeah.
It can be done. It can be done if that's what you want to do. I learned for myself, I couldn't do it for anybody else.
Right.
I had to do it for me. And God gave me the power to not have that urge to use drugs or sell drugs or indulge and hang out with people that was doing
That's
drugs
doing the
and
same
things.
thing.
And I turned my whole life around. I turned my whole life around. It can only be God is why I turned my life around, because I don't think anything on earth I couldn't do it. Nothing made me do it. It's only, you know, God. And my mother would always say, and my grandfather would say, why don't you travel? You got to travel. That's a part of life. You got to do this. You got to do that. And
Experience new things.
I never knew what I was missing, because I never did it. I
Right.
never traveled, besides when my mother took me to Disney World as a kid. But I never traveled, and I never was productive, and I didn't do anything. It was like 30 years of my life was just wasted. But it was a learning experience for me to get to where I'm at today. And different people take different paths in life. You know,
Right.
some people straight A students, some people, you know, work all their life, and then I just had the path of wanting to be a drug dealer, and it just turned my whole life upside down.
Right.
To want to be, you know, to want to be a drug dealer. And I'm blessed to be able to celebrate 3 years clean.
years.
Every year on 9/11, I celebrate. Every year I go out to dinner and I celebrate on 9/11. 9/11 is not
It's different for you.
It's just different for me. And I didn't say I'm going to stop on 9/11.
It
It
just happened.
on 9/11. You know, me and my counselor was trying to figure out what my clean date was, because, like I said, it just happened. I had one date, then it was 2, 5, and we boiled it down to my clean urines. And it just happened to be on 9/11. And if anybody's thinking that you can't do it, you can do it. It
Right.
can be done, but you have to want it sincerely. You can't do it for your children, you can't do it for your mother. You have to want to do it sincerely within yourself. And I'm a living, I can tell you that it can be done, and if you just give yourself a chance, if you just
Right.
give yourself a chance, you'll see the blessing that it is. And I do good things. The other day, I was in Virginia, I was at Lowe's, and there's a lot of people, they're hanging out, drinking. I pulled over my car and I gave everybody $1. I gave everybody, it was a lot of people out there, I gave everybody $1. When I get to the corner and I see people with signs up asking for money, I give them money.
Right.
I definitely give back. I look out for a lot of people, and I definitely give back. They say in the rooms, you can't keep it unless you give it away.
Right.
You have to give your story. You have to give it away.
Right.
You just can't keep it all for yourself. And I have my mother's apartment that she's been in for the past 40 years in that particular apartment. I have my mother's apartment. I have a new apartment in Virginia. I have 2 BMWs, things I never, ever, ever thought that I would have, and clean time. And I'm well respected now, which I was respected then, but I'm
In a different
in a different
environment, a different
Yes.
style of, or class of people.
Yes, different.
Where have you been able to travel to now?
I've been to Dominican Republic twice. In the last year, I've been to Dominican Republic in the last year twice. I've been to Miami, I think, 3 or 4 times. I've been to Vegas. I'm going back to Miami in February. I'm going to Atlanta in January. And now I see on my refrigerator, my mother has magnets from all around the world. She's traveled all around the world. She has magnets. So now I have my little corner. My little corner with my magnets. I'm trying to get up to
Trying to double hers,
yeah,
get to
I'm
some of
trying
the
to catch
places
up.
that she's been.
I'm trying to catch up to her. And I wish, just things happen. I didn't plan it. I wish my mother was here to see this teardrop right here. A lot of people think the teardrop is when you kill somebody, but the open teardrop is when you lose somebody.
Right.
So this is the open teardrop for the tears that I cry for my mother, and this is
Her
her
name.
right here. That's my biggest thing is I wish, but everybody says she could see you, but it's just not the same.
Right.
It's
But
just
at
really-
least you were able to kind of rekindle your relationship
definitely.
before, she went on.
Definitely, because our relationship. Oh, we
I
had
know,
a
it was tragic.
horrible
Yeah.
relationship, and she only wanted the best for me, but I didn't see that at the time.
Right.
And if somebody is watching this, it could be done. It could be done. It
Absolutely.
could be done. After 30 years of me using drugs, starting at 14, smoking marijuana, it could be done. It could definitely be done.
So now
And
you're living triumphantly.
Yes, definitely. I'm glad to be able to be here. I have 2 grandchildren that I help take care of, and I'm glad that I was able, to come. You asked me to come, and I said I gotta come.
Yeah, because you have a story. You have a story to tell that somebody needs to hear. And it's not just for you to go through it and keep it to yourself.
Absolutely.
Because there's somebody out there wondering, when am I ever going to be able to get through? When am I not going to depend on these drugs? When am I not going to depend on my next high? When am I not going to have to depend on selling my body or selling these
Yes.
things or boosting, as you say? When will it happen for me? And somebody needs to know, or some mother or father needs to know that child that is doing that is possible.
It is possible. It's very much possible.
And it
very
can be
much possible.
done.
It
So
can be done. I'm just now enjoying my life. I just
But
turned
at least you
48.
have an opportunity to enjoy it.
Yes,
You
I
know,
do.
you have so many of your friends that are in jail or they're dead or they're
Absolutely.
still doing the same thing and they're trapped within themselves. They don't even realize they may not be in a prison, but within themselves they are.
Yeah, I definitely was. If I wasn't literally in prison, I was in
In
prison in
prison,
my mind
right,
and my body.
right.
You know, and like I said, you can't keep it unless you give it away. No matter how you give it away, you have to give it away. I give it away in the knowledge. I give it away in the money. I just do good. If people's hungry and I can feed them, I do. You gotta be able to give it. You have to be
Right.
able to give it away.
Well, this will be in a place where anybody who wants to see it can see it. And it's for every country, every nation. They will hear your testimony and they'll hear your story and be healed. This is going to heal a lot of people
Yes.
and give a lot of people hope. So I thank you over and over and over and over. And
Anytime.
I'm glad you were so willing to, because you know a lot of people don't like to tell their stories,
No, a lot
especially
of people keep it a secret.
right,
The real in-depth stuff,
right,
they keep it in secret. So I couldn't come here and act like I didn't smoke crack. I couldn't come here and act like I didn't sniff heroin, because those are the things that I did that
brought you
got
to the
me
place,
here.
right?
Exactly, that got me here today. And I'm blessed to be alive. At any time, I could have got killed. Anytime I could have got killed, I could have got shot, anything.
Right.
I was out there in the concrete jungle. That's what they call it. Was out there in New York City. Is the concrete jungle. I was out in the concrete jungle,
Right.
and God spared my life. Plenty of times I was in a place where I could have got killed, and
Right.
He spared my life.
And he spared your life for a reason. And I'm glad you finally realized it.
Yeah, I have something to live for and look forward to. I definitely do.
That something is you. That something is your grandchildren, your son,
Absolutely.
your sister right here.
Absolutely.
All of us, you know, because we've always
My
been,
niece. Absolutely.
you know, we've always had you.
Absolutely.
We always prayed for you. We always, you know, wherever you were, we were just there. And loving you has been our mission.
Tell them how you got me. Tanel loves to tell
Oh my
his
gosh.
story.
I don't know the whole story because, you know, I was, what, 4 or 5 years old?
I'm 48.
So I was 4 or 5 years old. And I just remember you being this beautiful little chunky little something that she brought home through foster care.
Yeah. And a T-shirt, she said. A
And a
paper and a
t-shirt.
T-shirt.
And a paper t-shirt. It wasn't just a regular t-shirt. It was a little paper t-shirt they brought you home.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to hold you.
And we've been family ever since.
Ever
Can't
since.
get any thicker. Can't get any closer.
Absolutely.
We've been family
Absolutely.
ever since. And it just so happened that what are we, 7, 8, 10 blocks away from each other when I was growing up?
Right.
Yeah.
Because when you went back home, you know, my parents became your godparents. And whenever you would run away from home, our number was the first one
That's
that
right.
Pam would call. And she was like, is she there? I was like, yeah, we're going to feed her and bring
Yeah.
her home.
Yes. Yes.
So
And-
years of that.
Jamie, our sister, is my son's godmother.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we can't get any closer.
Yeah.
We can't get any closer. But I'm glad to be here today. I didn't have any plans or anything. I would have probably been. I don't even hang out anymore. I would have probably been at home catching
home
up
doing
on my
nothing.
DVR. I don't hang out. If somebody has a party, I'll go to it. If it's a good friend of mine or something, but I don't hang. I guess that
The
comes
desire from it is just gone.
I guess that's come from being in the after hour club at 15, 16 years old. I done all my partying.
Mm-hmm.
But
So,
I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad you're
I'm glad
here.
to be alive. I'm glad to be here.
And
know a
so
lot
much
of
more to
people know
live
that.
for.
Yes.
We got to take some trips together so I can show you some places that
Yes,
I've been.
yes.
Absolutely.
I know you. I remember when you went to Africa,
Yeah.
Spain.
Spain,
See, I remember.
France, and the list goes on.
Yeah.
My longest trip, well, no, South Africa was the longest trip that I've ever taken in my whole
How long was it?
life. Oh, my God.
The plane
The
ride.
plane ride was about 20, I want to say 26 hours.
That's a long time.
My whole body was. I slept for 3 days
After?
after coming back. But my trip to Korea, that was my longest trip. I went to
When
Korea.
you missed your birthday?
Yeah.
Okay. See,
When I left for Korea, it was June 15th. When I got to Korea, it was June 17th.
You missed the day.
I missed it. I missed
Yeah, I
the year.
remember. I
Yep.
remember.
But that was the longest trip I had taken, and then I went to South Africa after that. So
I never thought.
You have to go to South Africa. I think everybody who has any type of African heritage needs to at least go see
South Africa.
South Africa.
I even got a passport during my,
Years of
yeah. I didn't have ID. A driver's
just a
license, a
ghost.
non-driver's, not even a food stamp card. I didn't have anything. Now I have my passport and have the
driver's
card,
license.
a driver's license, all those things. All those things that I took for granted and that people take for granted. All those things is an achievement for me.
Right.
I didn't get my license till I was 47 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and I cried. When they told me that I passed the test, I literally cried. And I was just saying, I wish my mother was here. I literally cried. But it was a learning experience. Everybody don't have to take a 30-year learning experience. My experience just cost me 30 years of my life, that I'm catching up with right now.
Well, I'm glad to celebrate you. And your other mother is still proud of you.
Thank
You know she's
you.
proud.
I
You
know.
know she's proud. So, again, I thank you, and I love you, and
I
I'm
love you too.
glad for this opportunity. So this is my sister, Michele, and we are finished. It's a wrap. Don't forget to like and subscribe.